and welcome back. Today's video will be focused on our meals of the week, as you can see from the title. So here's what we had for dinner over the past week and a half or so. We had some of our favorite classics, and then we tried out a few new recipes. So excited to share with y'all what that was like, and hopefully you'll get some meal inspiration as well. So starting out, we had breakfast for dinner. That's always a nice fun switch up from the norm. So I made these bagel sandwiches. It's just scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, a slice of cheese on a buttered bagel, and then I served it with orange slices and hash browns on the side. So breakfast for dinner is always a hit, so this was a fun and yummy dinner. So on this night, this is actually a completely new recipe for us, and this was stir-fried spaghetti. This was really good. It was like an Afro-Asian fusion type dish. There were lots of flavors like soy sauce and sesame seed oil and ginger and garlic, but then there are also flavors like shito, which is a blackened pepper sauce, and African pepper sauce, which was really good. So I actually have an entire video showing you how I made this dish and going through the whole process. If you're interested, then you can just click here to check out that entire recipe, but this one is definitely one that we'll be adding and having again because this was really good. Everybody in the family loved it, so this one definitely is on the meal plan again here very soon. So here I had some lettuce that I needed to use before it went bad, and so this is just a classic salad with whatever we had. So there's some chopped jalapeno, some boiled egg, some turkey deli meat, and croutons, and we had this with Italian. I had Italian, my husband had ranch dressing, but yeah, huge salads. So this meal is one of those tried and true meals for our family. This is crock pot barbecue pulled chicken. I think I'm saying that right. But it's super simple, y'all. So you just take your chicken, throw that into the crock pot with your seasonings. In our case, this time I used a mix of light and dark meat. So I used some chicken breast and some chicken leg quarters. And then I seasoned that with some garlic powder, onion powder, 21 seasoning salute, and I did cook mine from frozen, as you can clearly see. And I also added some smoked paprika. If I'd had it, I would have used some liquid smoke. Now that I have some, the next time I make this, I'll be using liquid smoke. And then I always like to throw in a little bit of barbecue sauce. At this stage in the process, I don't like to use too much barbecue sauce just because I feel like it kind of gets lost because there's so much juice that's generated when the chicken actually cooks up all the extra broth and everything. So a little bit of barbecue sauce at this point, and then I put that in the crock pot on high. I initially put mine for 6.5 hours. I thought it would need a little bit more time because it was frozen. I only ended up cooking it for about 5 hours before it was actually done though. So while my chicken was cooking, I did throw together some potato salad, just a classic southern potato salad. So I had some mustard, a bit of mayo, some sweet relish, and then a few seasonings. I used onion powder, garlic powder, I think a little bit of salt and pepper as well, and I also used some smoked paprika. And I mixed that all together. Then I threw in some chopped boiled eggs. One thing that I always like to do with my potato salad, I've been doing this for years, is to throw in a little bit of whatever barbecue sauce you're using for your meat to flavor it. And it is such a change in the flavor. It's subtle, but it's really good. So I always throw in a little bit of barbecue sauce, and then I garnish the top with a little bit more of the boiled egg and stuck that in the refrigerator while my chicken continued to cook in the crock pot.
Like where you at. I like everything about you. Everything about you.
So like I said, this is after about 5 hours of cooking, and as you can see, that chicken has generated lots of broth here in the pot, in the crock pot. That's why I was saying I don't use a lot of barbecue sauce at this point. So I took the chicken out of the crock pot and put that in a separate bowl where I shredded it and removed the bones from the chicken, and then I took the excess chicken broth here out of the crock pot, wiped it down, and then just put the chicken back into the crock pot with some barbecue sauce. And this is where I like to add a lot of barbecue sauce. We like ours very saucy, so I added quite a bit of barbecue sauce, and then this was ready for serving.
Everything about you.
So we just had our, normally we would have this pulled chicken on buns, like hamburger buns, but we didn't have hamburger buns, and of course I wasn't running to the grocery store, so we just had ours with some baked beans, that homemade coleslaw, and homemade potato salad. And this one's always a hit. So yeah, that was a great dinner. So this is actually day 2 for this fried rice. I didn't record it on the first day just because I cooked it so late at night, but I made a little fried rice with some shrimp and some chicken and then mixed veggies, and I made enough of this that we had some for leftovers the next night. So you're actually seeing day 2 of this, so these are the leftovers. But yeah, fried rice is always a hit in our household, so this was yummy. These are some chicken and black bean enchiladas that I made. I got this recipe from Smoking and Grilling with AB. So very good. My tortillas kind of fell apart a little bit, but the flavor was still amazing. So next time I'll make it, I'll have to figure out what I can do differently to make sure that my tortillas don't fall apart, but no complaints. This was a really good meal. On this night, I actually made shrimp and grits. This was super simple and a meal for one. My husband actually didn't want to have any grits. He doesn't really like the texture of like grits and oatmeal porridge, things like that. So I made myself a small pot of cheesy grits. These are pre-cooked shrimp sprinkled on some smoked paprika, a little bit of green onion, and this was super quick and easy, but a really good and yummy meal for one. So yeah, shrimp and cheese grits were what was for dinner on this night. My husband and my baby just had leftovers. And so this is my first time to actually make cheese grits at home, and they were so good and cheesy. I probably put too much cheese on them, if that's a thing, but they were so good. And in fact, my daughter the next day ended up eating my leftover cheese grits. So on this night we had jollof, which is one of our staple dishes in our home. My husband's from Ghana. So I made the jollof. This time I made the stew for the jollof a little bit darker, which made the stew a little bit richer than it usually is. And my husband actually said that this was the best jollof that I've ever made, so he liked it that way. So I ended up cooking my onions and my tomato paste just a little bit longer than I would have before, so they got much more brown than I traditionally would have. And I finished this in the oven. I did finish my jollof in the oven this time instead of on the stove top, but it was really, really good. And then I cooked that with some chicken leg quarters. I steamed them on the stovetop, steamed or poached them on the stovetop, and then I finished those in the oven to get a little bit of crispiness. But yeah, this jollof was really, really good. And then my husband fried up some plantains for us to have with those on the side. So this meal doesn't need a lot of introduction. We just had chili dogs. In our case, these are turkey hot dogs with turkey chili and then some shredded cheddar cheese blend on top with some oven baked fries on the side. Not the healthiest, but certainly super yummy. So yeah, chili dogs were what was for dinner on this night. Here I made this soup that reminded me of my childhood. I was just craving it with grilled cheese sandwiches. So we call it hamburger soup. In our case, it's ground turkey, chopped potatoes, some diced tomatoes from the can. I think I used 2 cans, some corn, green beans, peas, just whatever veggies you have on hand. Those just happen to be the ones that I had. And I cooked that all together with different seasonings, onion powder, garlic powder, you know, the usual suspects. But this was a super nice and cozy meal, and we ate this for like 2 days. So yeah, hamburger soup was what was for dinner on this night. Here, this is my first time to ever make party wings from scratch at home. So these were just regular wings from Kroger that I actually cooked from frozen in the oven. I made a sauce from scratch. It was inspired by a channel here on YouTube, and I'll have to remember to link it down below. Ray Mac's Grill. Yes, Ray Mac's Kitchen and Grill. So I used his ooh wee wing sauce as like my launching point. So I added some ginger ale, soy sauce, brown sugar, some spices and seasonings, some liquid smoke, and cooked that all together for a bit. It was so good. So yeah, I would definitely try this recipe again, and maybe even play with the sauce, do something different next time. So guys, this is actually going to wrap up our week of meals. Thank you so much for tuning in. Pray that each and every one of you are staying safe during this time, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye y'all.